Welcome back, everyone. Today we're going to be doing a deep dive
Ooh, deep dive.
into AI in India's legal landscape.
Okay.
So we've got excerpts from an editorial and an academic article.
Okay.
And both of them are really focused on, how India is or isn't
Yeah, right.
regulating AI, which is obviously a rapidly evolving field.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think by the end of this, you're going to have a really clear understanding of the current challenges and also the possibilities,
Yeah,
especially if you're interested in technology and law and how all that
for sure.
kind of comes together in society.
Yeah.
And also, just a heads up, we've got some really interesting real-world examples
Oh, cool.
in these sources.
Okay.
Things like AI's role in India's recent elections
Interesting.
and also the potential impact on jobs, which is something I think
Yeah,
we're all kind of thinking about these days.
absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a pivotal moment for India for sure. What I found really interesting is that India seems to be embracing AI really quickly, especially in areas like surveillance,
Mm-hmm.
but they're not really putting a lot of legal safeguards in place.
Right.
And this is very different from, say, the EU.
Yeah.
They're taking a much more cautious and risk-based approach
Right.
to regulating AI.
Yeah.
So it makes you wonder, is India leaving itself vulnerable?
It's a good question.
Yeah.
And it's something I was thinking about, too, as I was reading this stuff.
Yeah.
India does have laws in place, right?
Right.
There's the Information Technology Act
Mm-hmm.
from way back in 2000.
Wow.
And then more recently, there's the Digital Personal Data Protection Act, or DPT,
Oh, yeah, the
Act
DPDP.
from 2023,
Okay.
and the National AI Strategy from 2018.
Right.
But do any of these actually address the really specific challenges that AI poses?
Well, they do provide a foundation,
Okay.
but the key takeaway is that they weren't really designed with AI in mind.
Right.
So the IT Act, it really focuses on e-commerce and cybercrime, not the complex decision-making that AI does. And
Yeah.
the DPDP, it's a step towards data protection,
Okay.
but it doesn't fully deal with how AI systems, collect and process and potentially misuse our data.
So we have these laws, but they're kind of like,
Yeah.
we're trying to fit a square peg in a round hole.
Exactly.
They just don't quite
Yeah.
get at the intricacies of AI and its impact.
Exactly. And that brings us to a really crucial point
Okay.
that both the sources highlight.
Okay.
And that is that AI is a double-edged sword.
Okay.
It can do a lot of good, but it also has some serious risks.
Okay, so let's start with the good stuff.
Yeah.
How could AI actually help India?
Well, the potential is huge.
Okay.
Take India's justice system.
Okay.
It's super bogged down.
Yeah.
There are over 50 million pending cases.
Wow, 50 million.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
Okay.
But AI could help streamline things.
Okay.
Automate routine tasks.
Right.
Help judges, analyze all this legal data.
Yeah, that would be huge.
Right, and that would lead to faster and fairer resolutions.
But wouldn't relying on AI in the justice system create new legal challenges?
Yeah, right.
How would the courts adapt?
Yeah, they would definitely need to adapt.
Yeah.
There would be questions about accountability
Right.
and the transparency of AI decisions.
Yeah.
We want to make sure that humans are still in control.
Right.
It's not a simple solution,
Right.
but the potential benefits are just too big to ignore.
Okay, so AI could bring efficiency to the courts.
Yeah.
What other benefits do the sources talk about?
Well, beyond the courts, AI could help us write better laws,
Okay.
make them clearer, more concise, and easier to understand.
Mm-hmm.
And that would increase legal literacy.
That makes sense.
Right. More people would understand the law.
Yeah,
And that would be really empowering.
it would, absolutely.
Yeah.
The source also mentioned using AI to strengthen intellectual property rights
Oh, yeah.
and to streamline international business operations.
Mhm.
It feels like AI could really break down a lot of barriers.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And let's not forget about law enforcement.
Oh, right.
There was this fascinating example from Delhi
Right.
where the police used AI-powered facial reconstruction
Yeah.
to identify a murder victim,
Wow.
which led to the arrest of the perpetrators.
That's incredible.
Right. So AI can analyze data,
Yeah.
identify patterns,
Mhm.
and that can really help with crime prevention and investigation.
It's amazing to see AI being used in such a tangible way
Yeah.
to solve real world problems.
Right.
But I think we also have to talk about the downsides.
Oh, yeah, of course.
What are some of the risks that the sources point out?
Well, that's where things get a little bit more complicated.
Okay.
One of the biggest concerns is the use of AI for mass surveillance.
Yeah.
especially without enough protection for our privacy.
Right, and this goes back to our earlier point about how India's approach to AI regulation is less strict than the EU's.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And another big concern is algorithmic bias.
Right.
These algorithms, they can perpetuate existing societal biases, and that can lead to unfair outcomes in things like hiring, loan applications, even criminal sentencing.
That's scary.
Yeah, there was this example in one of the articles about Amazon's AI recruitment tool.
Right.
It was actually scrapped.
Really?
Because it was biased against women.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a perfect example of how AI can reflect.
Yes.
And even amplify existing societal biases.
Totally.
Yeah.
That's really worrisome.
It is.
Yeah.
And then there's the whole issue of AI's impact on jobs.
Oh, right.
I've heard a lot about automation potentially displacing millions of workers.
Yeah.
Do the sources address that?
They do, and it's a huge concern for India.
Yeah.
One report actually suggested that automation could displace up to 60 million manufacturing jobs in India by 2030.
60 million?
Yeah.
That's a huge number.
Yeah.
It's not just a shift in technology.
Right.
It's like a massive societal disruption.
Exactly.
60 million jobs lost to automation. That's a huge number. And it's not just a shift in technology like you were saying. It's a huge societal disruption.
Yeah, and it really raises questions about how India can adapt to this change. Retraining and reskilling the workforce is going to be crucial to prepare for this new AI-driven economy.
Yeah, for sure. And it's not even just jobs, right? There's also the risk of AI being used for like malicious purposes.
Oh, absolutely.
Like launching cyber attacks or spreading fake news.
Right. Imagine the destabilization that could cause.
It's scary stuff. It does feel like we're standing at a crossroads here. AI has this potential to revolutionize so much, but it also has this potential to cause a lot of harm. So what can India actually do to like harness AI's power but do it responsibly?
Well, both sources offer some potential solutions, and this is where the discussion gets really interesting.
Okay, I'm all ears.
They both highlight that India needs to take concrete steps to make sure AI is developed and used ethically and responsibly, not just for profit or for control.
Okay, so what kind of steps are we talking about?
Well, the first and probably the most crucial step is the development of a comprehensive AI-specific law in India.
Okay.
Think of it like the EU's AI Act, which basically categorizes AI applications based on their risk level.
Okay.
India could adopt a similar framework that, clearly defines the rules, sets ethical guidelines for development, and establishes accountability.
So it's like creating a rule book for AI.
Exactly.
Which makes a lot of sense. But rules are only as good as their enforcement.
Right.
So how would India enforce these new AI regulations?
Right. Well, that's where the idea of an independent regulatory body comes in.
Yeah.
The sources suggest creating something like an AI Ethics and Governance Authority of India.
Okay.
This authority would act as a watchdog, making sure that AI is developed and used ethically. They'd be responsible for monitoring development, investigating violations, and enforcing those new AI laws.
So it's like a dedicated team of experts.
Exactly.
Whose sole focus is to keep AI in check.
Right.
But what about issues like bias? Can we really prevent AI from being discriminatory even with all these regulations?
That's a great question, and it's definitely a complex issue, but the sources do offer some solutions. One key aspect is transparency.
Okay.
They emphasize the need for more transparency in how algorithms are developed and used. If we understand how these systems work, we can better identify and mitigate those biases. Think of it like shining a light on the inner workings of AI.
Right. Making sure it's all above board.
Exactly.
Transparency and accountability seem to be like the recurring themes.
Absolutely. And there's another interesting idea that they mention, regulatory sandboxes.
Regulatory sandboxes, what are those?
So basically, they're controlled environments where companies can test out new AI applications without the risk of causing harm on a large scale. It's like a testing ground for AI, where developers can experiment, gather data, and refine their systems in a safe and controlled setting.
So that's fascinating. A safe space to play around with new technology and make sure it's actually beneficial
Right.
before releasing it into the wild, so to speak.
Exactly.
What other solutions do they propose?
Well, one that I find particularly interesting is integrating ethical AI principles into education and training.
But shaping the future, starting with education.
Yeah, exactly. If we want to build a future where AI benefits everyone,
Hmm.
we need to start by educating the next generation of developers, policymakers, and even everyday citizens about the ethical implications of AI.
Hmm.
This would ensure that ethical considerations are baked into the very fabric of AI from the beginning.
It feels like India's at a really critical juncture. The choices they make today are really going to have a big impact on their future and the future of AI as a whole. I mean, we've explored this incredible potential of AI to revolutionize India's legal system, streamline courts, strengthen property rights. But we've also uncovered these really serious risks, mass surveillance, algorithmic bias, job displacement. What stands out to you as the most crucial takeaway from all this?
For me, the most important point is that AI isn't just a technology, it's a reflection of our own values and choices. If we want AI to benefit humanity, we need to be intentional about the kind of future we're building.
That's a powerful way to put it. AI is a mirror reflecting back on us who we are and what we choose to prioritize.
Exactly. And that's where you, the listener, come in.
Okay, now I'm really intrigued. What role did WE play in all of this? I mean, it's easy to feel kind of powerless when you think about this huge wave of technological advancement.
It's true. AI can feel overwhelming, but I really believe we all have a role to play in shaping its development and making sure it's used for good. The future of AI isn't set in stone. It's a story that's still being written, and we all have the power to contribute to the narrative.
So if the future of AI is still being written, like you said,
Mm.
what can we as individuals actually do to make sure it's a story we're, proud to tell?
Well, first and foremost, stay informed. The more you understand about AI and its capabilities and its limitations and its potential impact, the better equipped you'll be to make good decisions.
So keep listening to podcasts like this one.
Exactly. But also, read articles, attend webinars, engage in discussions. The more empowered you'll be.
Knowledge is power.
Exactly. Knowledge is power in this crazy new world we live in.
Okay, knowledge is power.
Yeah.
What else can we do?
Be mindful of your data. AI systems, they thrive on data. So be really conscious of what information you're sharing online and who you're sharing it with.
Right, because it's like we're all contributing to this massive AI experiment, whether
Eh,
we realize it or not.
Exactly. And that's why it's so important to be aware of your digital footprint.
Okay.
Another important step is to demand better from the companies that are developing and deploying these AI systems.
What do you mean by that?
Ask questions, look into their ethical guidelines. How are they addressing issues like bias? Don't be afraid to hold these companies accountable for creating AI systems that are fair and unbiased and beneficial for everyone.
So we can vote with our wallets and our choices.
Exactly. If you don't like how a company is using AI, you can choose to support a different company, one that aligns better with your values.
Right, makes sense.
And finally, don't underestimate the power of your own voice.
Okay.
Engage in the conversation. Talk to your friends and family about these issues. Write to your elected officials. Share your concerns. The future of AI is not something that will be decided in a vacuum. It's going to be shaped by the choices that we make as a society.
This has been a really incredible deep dive. We've explored the potential of AI to revolutionize India's legal system, the very real risks that we need to address, and now we're talking about our own individual responsibility in shaping the future of this technology. It's a lot to take in.
It really is. And the most exciting part is that this is just the beginning. The AI revolution is still unfolding, and the choices we make now will really determine what kind of future we create.
So to our listeners out there, we'll leave you with this thought. The future of AI is not set in stone. It's a story that's still being written, and you have the power to influence that narrative. So stay informed, stay engaged, and let's work together to build a future where AI is a force for good in India and around the world.